This is what the Super League looked like 3 decades ago.
Cervello all the way, and he's got the try!
And here's what it looks like now.
A burst of brilliance!
So how did we get here? Well, in the year of Rugby League's 100th birthday, the Rugby Football League agreed a landmark 5-year television deal worth £87 million with Sky Sports for a newly rebranded First Division, Super League. It was a seismic make-or-break moment. The sport moved to summer, clubs became fully professional, a salary cap was introduced, and the video referee entered the game. These changes reshaped Rugby League forever. For a deeper look at how and why Super League was created, there's a dedicated video on the channel. Expansion sat at the heart of the vision, seen as essential if the sport was to grow beyond its northern heartlands. New expansion club Paris Saint-Germain hosted the Sheffield Eagles in the first ever Super League match to kick off the new era in front of nearly 18,000 fans at the Stade Sébastien Charletti, claiming victory in a successful launch for the competition.
Tremendous start for Paris Saint-Germain!
St Helens became Super League's first champions, finishing top of the table by a single point under a first past the post system. Paul Newlove and Bobby Goulding led the league in tries and points, setting early benchmarks for the new era. However, expansion faltered after just 2 seasons when the Paris project collapsed, undone by financial instability, disappointing attendances and administrative issues. Despite avoiding relegation on the field, they lost their Super League status and dissolved. And it wasn't just Paris who fell. The rapid shift to professionalism exposed financial cracks. Oldham, unable to cope with the new demands after relegation in 1997, they entered administration and ultimately liquidated before reforming in the 3rd tier. Traditional clubs in Hull Sharks and Huddersfield Giants replaced the departing clubs. A structure change was introduced in 1998. Playoffs replaced the first past the post system, with the grand final to be played at Old Trafford. The inaugural decider saw Wigan defeat Leeds thanks to Jason Robinson's iconic try.
Billy Wears with a try under the sticks!
Expansion continued in 1999 as the league grew to 14 teams. North East expansion club Gateshead Thunder were admitted alongside promoted Wakefield Trinity, but the experiment was short-lived. Heavy financial losses led to Gateshead merging with Hull Sharks to form Hull FC after just 1 season. Huddersfield also merged with Sheffield Eagles to create the Huddersfield-Sheffield Giants, as the league was back at 12 clubs from the 2000 season. Though the move rejected by supporters and abandoned after a year, with the Phoenix Sheffield club forming outside Super League. From the turn of the century, after a chaotic start with mergers, Super League found stability on the field through 2 incredible teams. St Helens and Bradford Bulls traded grand final victories. Saints' victory in 2002 made it 3 wins in the opening 5 finals, and dominated individual honours, collecting 7 Man of Steel awards during the decade. Paul Sculthorpe made history as the first player to win the award in consecutive seasons. Sean Long starred for the Saints as one of the best halfbacks of his generation, and produced a grand final winning drop goal in 2002 to defeat Bradford.
Long has kicked the goal that will win the grand final!
Just a couple of seasons prior, the Saints delivered one of the most dramatic moments in the competition's history in a playoff match against Bradford, setting the precedent for decades to come to never write off the Saints.
Long fancies it. It's wide to West. It's wide to West. Dwayne West inside to Joyce. 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 Joyce.
Despite that early instability, the competition settled. Attendances were strong, the on-field product was compelling, and Super League secured a second television deal with Sky Sports worth over £50 million across 5 seasons from 1999. Bradford were at their best in 2003, defeating Wigan to claim a 3rd Super League title, and completed a historic quadruple by beating Penrith Panthers in the World Club Challenge. Their squad was stacked with quality talent. Leslie Vainicolo became one of the most devastating wingers the league has seen since he erupted onto the Super League in 2002, scoring 147 tries in 148 appearances. Leon Price rose from the Bulls Academy to star for the club and capped the era with a superb try in the 2005 Grand Final victory against Leeds.
It has opened up for Price, and Leon Price scores for Bradford.
Bullmania was electric, and those Bradford sides are widely regarded as among the best in Super League history, but their success proved to be unsustainable. Financial pressure forced the club to dismantle its core and unable to retain their stars. Jamie Peacock left for Leeds, Leon Price joined St Helens, and Stuart Fielden was sold to Wigan for a then world record £450,000 fee. Bradford drifted into mediocrity and had severe financial troubles. After entering administration, they were docked 6 points in 2014 and were relegated. After years of mismanagement, they liquidated in 2017. One of Super League's flagship clubs had collapsed. They would return with a Phoenix club but had a huge rebuild on their hands. As Bradford's dominance faded, Leeds' Rhinos rose. Built around a golden generation of academy graduates, Kevin Sinfield, Danny Maguire, Rob Burrow and Jamie Jones-Buchanan, Leeds became the fourth club to win a Super League grand final in 2004, and it would be another 2 decades before we saw a fifth club join them in lifting the grand final trophy. By the late 2000s and early 2010s, Leeds and St Helens became the benchmark. 2 squads packed with elite domestic talent and high-quality imports, constantly pushing standards higher and repeatedly meeting on the biggest stage at Old Trafford. From 2007, Leeds won 3 consecutive grand finals, each time defeating Saints. Their rivalry reignited in the 2011 grand final, where an iconic performance from Rob Burrow inspired another Leeds victory and earned him the first unanimous Harry Sunderland trophy in Super League history.
Oh, he's stuck under the Burrow, and he's outstripped Wellens. It's a brilliant Burrow try, a fantastic Rob Burrow try.
Burrow set up Ryan Hall for a crucial try that day. Hall had been a central figure in Leeds' success since his breakout season in 2008, and by 2024 he would surpass Danny Maguire to become Super League's all-time leading try scorer. It would be wrong not to recognise the stars of those St Helens sides. James Graham stands as one of the greatest props the competition has seen, with his 2008 Man of Steel award rewarding his impact. Paul Wellens and James Roby were among the very best in their respective positions, and both were unfortunate to find themselves on the losing side of 5 consecutive grand final defeats. During the St Helens Leeds era, Super League underwent a period of major change and innovation. In 2006, French Rugby League returned to the competition with the introduction of Catalans Dragons. Based in the south of France, a traditional heartland of the sport, Catalans were granted a 3-year exemption from relegation, and there were good expectations that the Dragons could become a long-term success. That same year, London Broncos attempted reinvention, rebranding as Harlequins Rugby League. Once owned by Richard Branson and home to stars such as Sean Edwards and Martin O'Fire, London had enjoyed genuine success in Super League's early years, including top 4 finishes and playoff appearances. The rebrand aimed to align the club with Harlequins Rugby Union, joining a recognisable sporting brand, improve financial stability and share the stoop, but it failed to have the desired impact. By 2012, the club reverted to the Broncos' identity. A lack of stability, compounded by constant stadium moves, made it difficult to build a sustainable fan base, and in 2014, London were relegated alongside Bradford after managing just 1 win all season. Despite this, Rugby League in the capital survived, with the club rebuilding through the semi-professional ranks and pursuing a more organic route back to the top flight. The 2006 season also produced one of Super League's most dramatic relegation battles. With Catalans exempt, Wakefield Trinity and Castleford Tigers met in a winner-takes-all derby on the final day. Wakefield defeated the Tigers, sealing a 4th win in their final 6 games, a run that defied the odds, secured survival and sent their rivals down. Taking Castleford's place in 2007 was Hull KR, reigniting the Hull derby. The fixtures quickly became calendar highlights, fueled by flashpoints such as Paul Cook's controversial cross-city switch, with the former black and white helping Rovers claim the first seasonal bragging rights with 2 derby wins. That same year also saw the introduction of Magic Weekend, 6 Super League matches played across 2 days at a single venue. Launched in Cardiff, it became one of the competition's most successful innovations, taking the game to major cities across the UK. In 2009, promotion and relegation were scrapped in favour of a licensing system, granting clubs 3-year Super League status in an attempt to raise minimum standards. The league expanded once more, admitting Welsh club Celtic Crusaders alongside Salford City Reds. The Crusaders made history by taking part in Super League's first non-English fixture against Catalans. However, financial problems and low attendances undermined the project, and when licensing was reviewed ahead of 2012, the Crusaders dropped out and became another failed expansion club, but the licensing era ultimately failed to deliver its intended stability. The collapse of Crusaders, Bradford's decline, and London's continued struggles led to the system being scrapped. By 2015, Super League returned to 12 teams, with promotion and relegation reinstated. While Super League's structure continued to fluctuate, the talent never stopped emerging. 2009 marked the breakout of Wigan Warriors fullback Sam Tomkins, who, after winning Young Player of the Year in consecutive seasons, claimed the Man of Steel award Award in 2011 and became one of the league's defining superstars. Wigan ended their long grand final drought in 2010, defeating St Helens at Old Trafford, with Tomkins scoring a brilliant try in their first appearance there since the introduction of the playoffs in 1998. The Warriors returned to Old Trafford in 2013, beating Warrington Wolves in Tomkins' final match before his move to the New Zealand Warriors for a then record £750,000 transfer fee. Wigan coped with the loss of their star, reaching another grand final the following year, but made headlines for the wrong reasons. Early in the match, Welsh forward Ben Flower lost control and punched Lance Hohaya, becoming the first player sent off in a Super League grand final. St Helens capitalised, ending their own grand final hoodoo. Flower received a 6-month suspension, the longest ban in UK Rugby League history, and many felt he was fortunate to remain in the professional game at all. While the 2010s saw the rise of new stars such as Tomkins, Zach Hardaker, Johnny Lomax and Darryl Clark, the original band of brothers at Leeds Rhinos was still going strong. By the middle of the decade, Leeds found themselves back at Old Trafford once more, in a match that would mark the final appearances of Super League greats Kevin Sinfield, Jamie Peacock and Kylie Luluai. The final was a classic, decided by just 2 points. Danny Maguire crossed twice, and a late try from youngster Josh Walters proved just enough to send Leeds icons into retirement with one final grand final victory.
They've not just left a mark, they've left a stain that nobody will ever wash out.
The scrapping of the licensing system ahead of the 2015 season did not bring an immediate return to traditional promotion and relegation. Instead, Super League introduced a new and controversial format, the Super 8s and the Qualifiers. Under this system, the top 8 Super League sides after 23 rounds broke away from the bottom 4 and played a further 7 matches. The top 4 then progressed to the semi-finals, with a place in the grand final at stake. Meanwhile, the bottom 4 Super League clubs were joined by the top 4 from the Championship, forming the Qualifiers. After 7 rounds, the top 3 secured Super League status, while the teams finishing 4th and 5th faced off in a one-off promotion decider branded the £1 Million game. The format delivered drama. The 2015 League Leaders Shield race was decided at the death. The most compelling moment came in 2016, when Salford Red Devils travelled to Craven Park to face Hull KR. Salford produced a sensational comeback to send the game to golden point, and the match ended in dramatic fashion.
They've gone for it, O'Brien has gone for it, and he's got it! O'Brien has saved Salford!
While broadcasters and fans relished the spectacle, the Super 8s also introduced deep uncertainty, with the possibility of 4 Super League clubs being relegated in a single season. St Helens owner Eamon McManus publicly argued that the structure was damaging to commercial stability and long-term planning. The format was scrapped for a traditional one-up, one-down format in 2019. The final £1 Million game saw London Broncos pull off a major upset in Canada, defeating Toronto Wolfpack to secure promotion. Toronto were admitted to League One in 2017, backed by David Argyle, and immediately turned heads by operating a full-time squad in the lower tiers. Early crowd numbers suggested the idea of a transatlantic Super League club could genuinely succeed. More on the Wolfpack later. Despite the on-field drama, the wider picture was concerning. Average attendances fell from around 10,000 in 2015 to 8,400 by the end of the decade. A new 5-year Sky Sports deal from 2017 was widely criticised, including from club owners Marwan Concussion and McManus, who felt the league had undersold itself. On the field, the 2010s produced new contenders. Warrington Wolves had quality sides that saw them reach 4 grand finals, but were defeated at Old Trafford on every occasion. But under owner Simon Moran, they've established themselves as one of the wealthiest clubs and able to attract top overseas stars, starting in 2005 when immortal Andrew Johns joined the club. Huddersfield Giants also emerged as challengers, winning the League Leaders Shield in 2013, though carrying that success into the playoff continued to elude them. And then there was Castleford Tigers. Under Darryl Powell, they became the great entertainers of the decade. Their peak came in 2017, claiming a dominant League Leaders Shield, finishing on 50 points, with the man of steel in Luke Gale steering the Tigers from the halves. Gale's iconic drop goal in the semi-final against St Helens sent Castleford to Old Trafford for the first time.
Luke Gale takes Castleford Tigers to Old Trafford!
Just as it seemed inevitable that a new name would finally lift the trophy, the old guard returned. Leeds Rhinos, written off once more, produced one final chapter, led by a man-of-the-match performance from Danny Maguire, alongside Rob Burrow in their final appearances for the club. Together, they lifted the Super League trophy one last time, closing the era with a fitting, emotional farewell. One of the most intriguing stories at the start of the new decade was the arrival of the Toronto Wolfpack. The Canadian club bounced back from the 2018 £1 million game defeat by winning promotion to Super League in 2019, defeating Featherstone in the Championship Grand Final. Toronto made global headlines ahead of their first top-flight season with the blockbuster signing of dual-code superstar Sonny Bill Williams. But just as Super League prepared for its most ambitious chapter yet, the entire sporting world was brought to a halt. The COVID-19 pandemic shut the league down after just 7 rounds of the 2020 season. The consequences were severe. A government loan helped keep the sport alive, but not every club would survive the disruption. Toronto withdrew from the competition before playing a single home Super League fixture and would later cease operations entirely. Financial instability, travel costs, visa issues, and long-term mismanagement caught up with the Wolfpack. While their on-field rise had been extraordinary, their application to return to the league was rejected, bringing a sudden end to the project. For a full rise and fall breakdown of the Wolfpack, check out the video on the channel. Super League returned in eerie, empty stadiums, with the sport's future hanging in the balance, but the league were persistent, with the aim simply to finish the campaign. St Helens, champions in 2019, entered the restart with their title defence under scrutiny, losing 2 on the bounce before the league postponed. James Graham returned for his final professional season, still chasing a long-awaited grand final victory after 6 previous defeats with St Helens and Canterbury. The 2020 grand final was moved to the MKM Stadium in Hull and played behind closed doors. In an empty stadium, the match produced one of the most dramatic moments in Super League history.
Oh, he's hit the post. The chasers are on. The ball is just in there. It's Wellesby. Wellesby might have got the try. Jack Wellesby might have got the try. He has got that, Bill.
St Helens would go on to win 2 further grand finals, making it 4 titles in a row and cementing their status as one of the great dynasties of the Super League era. At the heart of that success was James Roby, who in 2023 made his 495th Super League appearance, becoming the competition's all-time appearance record holder. As the sport looked to stabilise in a post-pandemic landscape, Super League entered a 12-year strategic partnership with IMG in 2022. The deal placed a renewed focus on competition structure, media rights, digital content, innovation and brand strategy, with the aim of modernising the sport and improving long-term sustainability. For years, Super League's governance had been widely criticised, with many arguing that its self-serving structure had held the game back. The IMG partnership represented an acknowledgement that change was needed. As part of that overhaul, IMG developed a new licensing and grading system for the 2025 season. Once again, traditional promotion and relegation was scrapped, and the top 12 clubs in the IMG grading would secure a Super League place. Player welfare became a defining issue of the 2020s, particularly around concussion. A legal case involving more than 100 former players threatened the sport's financial future and forced urgent change. Super League introduced a mandatory 12-day concussion stand down and enhanced head injury assessment protocols in 2024. While early enforcement produced some questionable calls, the league has since found a better balance, strengthening player protection without losing the physical edge that defines the game. Super League's record on expansion has largely been a negative one, but there has been a clear exception. Catalan's Dragons became the competition's shining light. Strong crowds in the south of France, combined with consistent on-field performance throughout the 2000s and 10s, saw the Dragons establish themselves as a genuine Super League force. Regular playoff appearances and a historic Challenge Cup victory in 2018 helped Catalans pull off a major coup ahead of the 2019 season, signing Sam Tomkins. Tomkins won his 2nd Man of Steel award in 2021, leading Catalans to the league leaders' shield and their first grand final appearance, where they narrowly fell to the emerging St Helens dynasty. In what he billed as his retirement season, Tomkins produced one final moment of magic in the 2023 semi-final against St Helens, sending Catalans back to Old Trafford.
Tomkins! Tomkins!
They fell short once again, this time against Wigan Warriors, who lifted their first title since 2018 and had their own type of French leading their success. Bevan French, signed from the Parramatta Eels in 2019, improved season by season to cement himself as one of the greatest overseas imports Super League has ever seen. In 2022, he broke the single-game try-scoring record with 7 tries against Hull FC before claiming the Man of Steel award in 2023. Wigan's grand final victory over Catalans saw them compete in the 2024 World Club Challenge against all-time NRL side Penrith Panthers. French claimed man of the match as Wigan stunned Penrith in a dramatic contest, a result that set the tone for a historic 2024 quadruple. Once again, French delivered a game-defining moment, scoring the winning try in the 2024 Grand Final and becoming the first recipient of the Rob Burrow Award.
He is astonishing, Bevan French!
Rob Burrow, who had been diagnosed with motor neuron disease, passed away in 2024 after an inspirational battle. He was celebrated across the country and rugby league world with a moving tribute held during the Leeds Rhinos versus Leopards match, a fitting tribute to a truly special human being. A club who rose in the modern era was Leigh. Long considered a yo-yo side, they invested in the playing squad during the 2022 Championship season, won promotion to Super League, controversially rebranded as the Leigh Leopards, and immediately announced themselves as contenders. A playoff appearance in 2023, alongside a Challenge Cup triumph, showcased their ambition as a club under Derek Beaumont. Hull KR also emerged as a genuine force. After stabilising following promotion in 2018, the Robins appointed Willie Peters as head coach in 2022. The club improved year on year. The rise of academy star Mikey Lewis, who won the Man of Steel in 2024, symbolised their progress, even as they fell just short in that season's grand final. With the additions of experienced veterans Jared Warrior-Hargreaves and Michael McIlorum for 2025, Hull KR completed a historic treble, defeating Wigan at Old Trafford in commanding fashion. For the first time in 20 years, a new club lifted the Super League trophy, finally breaking the long-standing dominance of Wigan, Leeds and St Helens. The introduction of IMG has acted as a major motivator for clubs like Hull KR, Leigh and most recently at Wakefield Trinity. Following relegation in 2023, owner Matt Ellis oversaw significant investment in infrastructure, the stadium and the academy. Wakefield returned to Super League in 2025 and immediately found themselves in the playoff picture, no longer a club simply making up the numbers. While TV viewing figures, attendances and digital engagement all rose in 2025, a dark cloud hung over the competition. Salford's collapse became a stark reminder of the sport's vulnerabilities. Years of mismanagement culminated in players being sold, wages repeatedly paid late, and a squad stripped of competitiveness, resulting in Salford being non-competitive in the vast majority of matches. The situation was compounded by failures at governance level. The governing body approved a change in ownership that many felt was driven more by a stadium land grab than the long-term health of the club. When that project collapsed, the club was eventually disbanded. A Phoenix club has since been formed and will compete in the Championship in 2026, but the damage was already done. In contrast, Super League clubs continued to push its ambition. The competition joined the NRL's Las Vegas weekend in 2025 and will return in 2026, with Hull KR facing Leeds Rhinos. Vegas isn't the first time Super League clubs have taken matches to neutral venues. In 2019, Catalans and Wigan met at Barcelona's new camp, setting a regular season attendance record with nearly 32,000 fans. A year earlier, Hull FC and Wigan travelled 12,000 miles to Wollongong, Australia, staging a Super League fixture alongside friendlies against NRL opposition. The league expands again to 14 clubs for the 2026 season and has divided opinion. Bradford, York and Toulouse have been promoted, but concerns remain that the process was rushed, leaving clubs limited time to recruit and prepare. Despite the turbulence, the sport finds itself in its healthiest position for some time. The question now is whether Super League can build on this momentum or whether it risks stagnation. As the competition approaches its 30th season, there is growing speculation that it could be the final year of Super League as we know it. NRL chief Peter V'landys has openly expressed interest in taking a greater role in the administration of the game, potentially aligning English and French rugby league more closely with the NRL. The idea of NRL Europe has been floated, though nothing concrete has yet materialised. What is clear is that the sport has reached another defining crossroads. Just as in 1995, the next major decision will shape the future of rugby league for a generation to come.